Paris can get surprisingly cold in April, and that was the case on Sunday the 15th. The best place to warm up on this day was the Grand Palais. A new edition of the Tour Auto Optic 2000 is being readied. The extraordinary glass dome built for the 1900 World Expo was then renovated from the ground up from 2001 to 2005, and it awaits the arrival of the cars as little by little they fill this wonderful space. The next day there was excitement in the air during the traditional technical and administrative controls. A busy day for all concerned, proving how successful the event has become. And this year the route heads east and south from Paris to Nice.
Obviously, the passion comes with the history of the automobile, and there are cars that have marked this history.
It's always a lot of fun to come out. There's also the human aspect. I'm doing this with my dad. We've been together for the entire week, including in our hotel room. It's a great thing to share, and I'm pleased to be able to do it.
Deux triangles et deux gilets, s'il vous plaît. Deux triangles et deux gilets. Ah, chez vous.
We have 220 cars from 22 countries, with some who have come from far away. Some have come from Argentina, Colombia, Hong Kong, and from across the whole of Europe. Just like every year, the route has been changed to offer the competitors new scenery and new closed-road special stages. The road stages are kept secret if just for a few hours more. The organiser, like its major partners, made great use of this magnificent setting to put in place display stands worthy of the finest automobile shows in the world. BMW presented an exhibition of art cars, while Ferrari couldn't miss celebrating the anniversary of the iconic 250 GTO. Three were on hand at the Grand Palais, that of longtime Tour Auto participant Brandon Wang and William Connor from the US. But it was a lady who stole the show. Daniela Muller took up the challenge of celebrating her 250 GTO's 50th anniversary in the competition category. And if she was nervous, she hit it well.
It's a wonderful car to drive. It's not hard to drive, and they're made for being driven. And it's been here in 1964. It's been winning the Tour Auto, so it was called Tour de France at that time, I think. We brought it back just for this year.
With just a hint of humility, Daniela did admit her 250 GTO has a pedigree. Chassis number 4153 GT Écurie Francorchamps with drivers Lucien Bianchi and Georges Berger. The 1964 win followed another triumph the year before. The Gran Turismo Omologato and its 3-litre V12 engine is a purpose-built race car for both the open road and the circuit, and it continued the success began by the 250 GT. Jean Guichet and José Berra and Lucien Bianchi and Carlo Abate scored a double in the GT category, surviving the elements, and one of the cars was subjected to a bit of bodywork modification. The Scuderia built 39 3-litre GTOs, and it was arguably the most successful GT race car of its time. And it comes across on its route a certain AC Cobra. Today, it's the reference when it comes to front-engine Ferrari GTs, as well as being the most expensive collector race car of all time at somewhere in the neighbourhood of $30 million. At dawn, it's time to leave Paris and the Grand Palais and head to Vaux-le-Vicomte for the official start of the 2012 Tour Auto Optic 2000. Temperatures were near zero when the park was invaded by the 220-strong field. Nothing to cool the enthusiasm of the participants or the warm welcome of this splendid example of French culture.
Il a été construit par Fouquet, Nicolas Fouquet, surintendant des finances sous Louis XIV, et qui a voulu.
It was built by Nicolas Fouquet, who was in debt to Louis XIV, and who wanted to create something extraordinarily modern and visionary for the time. The house is twice as wide as older castles. The oval dome was quite common in the 17th century, but it was first incorporated here at Vaux. It features the Notre Gardens. They were the first of their kind, and the ensemble of the gardens is just amazing.
Donc c'est un ensemble logis-jardin qui est juste exceptionnel.
This exceptional backdrop softens the harsh noise when some cars are already beginning to act up. A cup of coffee to help swallow this bitter pill, or just to keep warm, and the time to get back out on the road and head off to the first road stage of the event.
This is my second Tour Auto. It was so nice the last time, and it would have been a shame not to do it again. I'm loyal to BMW because they are exceptional cars, both when it comes to the engine and road handling. There's nothing better.
Is back.
Gérard Larousse has played an important role in the Tour Auto for many years now, not as a competitor as he was when he thrilled the spectators in 1971 when he won the event in a Mattress 650. Mr. Larousse now opens the route of the rally, a role that consists not just in being the first car on the road. The opening car is the one that follows us, and it's known as the flag car. We're here to set the times in the stages that will be used as a base time for the regularity competition, but we do add a few seconds for them.
Les temps de la régularité, en rajoutant quelques secondes quand même.
And it's a good thing they do, because Gérard Larousse is as talented as ever behind the wheel.
Our role is also to relay all the information we can obtain on these specials and inform the marshals so they can notify the competitors about the difficulties on the stage, from the condition on the road to weather changes.
The Tour Auto
Historique is something really nice. There are extraordinary cars, and it's nicer to see them out on the road than in a museum. I've met up with a lot of friends, and I have fans along the side of the road. It's an event that for me is about conviviality. And we get to drive fast on closed roads on these special stages, which is rare these days.
Avec les routes fermées, ce qui est très rare aujourd'hui.
So Larousse finding a second youth on the Tour Auto. And here we are, La Puisaye, the first time sector of the day, and the honour of being the first in the stage goes to Franco Menes and Michael Mkhitaryan in their Alfa Romeo Zagato. Have a look at the focused and anxious Daniela Müller and co-driver Jacqueline Rouver. The 250 GTO begins its 50th birthday party in style. This special stage isn't just a simple tune-up for things to come. It's tight and twisty, and the dust makes the Lotus Elan of Jean-Pierre Lajounade cough, which wakes up the competitors before they take the start. We broke the axle at the start. We will meet up again with Pierre-Alain France, but not French TV personality Gérard Holtz, who tries to make some roadside repairs, but it isn't looking good for the Alfa Romeo entry. The Tour Auto is also over for the German pair of Alexander Berstein and Alex Hoffmann, who are still a bit stunned by their bad luck. Some, on the other hand, enjoyed themselves on this opening stage. Jean-Marc Bussolini in the orange Porsche 91146, Jean Ranotti in the Alpine, and the Entremont family in their Ferrari 308 Group N. On day one, lunch was served here at the Château Tennis in Burgundy. A moment to relax and grab a bite for some, while others work on their cars. Jean-Pierre Lajournade is eager to have his Lotus in top form. In any case, you can't complete the Tour Auto without having a problem. So if we have ours on the first day, we should be okay after that, and for the moment we're still smiling. The GTO made it through this first stage without a problem. The next will be a few laps on the Dijon-Prenois circuit. And the Tour Auto heads towards Beaune in the end of day one. The spectators await the competitors, as do the assistance crews, and it's time for them to get to work.
As you can see, we're at the heart of the Tour Auto paddock. Each year, Optic 2000 organises the mini tour with a mini circuit and a mini Ferrari, allowing kids to ignite their driving careers.
There are two pedals. The red one on the right is the accelerator and the one on the left is the brake. You can either accelerate or brake, but not at the same time.
It's really interesting, but it's also complicated. I was a little afraid, but it's okay now. With the instructor, it's great.
Avec un accompagnateur, ça va.
I don't know my highway code.
Day two got off to a soggy start in Beaune. How are you?
Pas très bien.
Well, not very well. We have to change the dynamo. Today we're going to have a laugh because we really like to slide, and I think it's going to be quite an amusing stage.
En spécial?
Yeah, no problem. It's going to be a great day. Day two saw the Tour Auto travel from the Burgundy region to Aix-les-Bains with a stop at the Brest circuit. The Tour Auto was greeted by a large turnout, and there was the opportunity for some to meet with the teams on the pre-grid and watch the 5 groups compete. There was a surprise in the VHC field, where you'll find the big horsepower cars such as Christopher Stahl's Ford GT40 against the AC Cobras. '11 Tour Auto winner Ludovic Caron experienced brake issues with his Cobra and was already trailing the other contenders, including Sean Lynn. They form a team of friends, and as they say themselves, they've known each other for 40 years. A love of fine cuisine brought them together, and it's their collective passion for the automobile that drove them to create the team of chefs. Jean-Paul Lacombe, Jacques Lamelloise, Michel Rostand and Michel Chabron have stepped away from their stoves and put away their aprons to take part in the Tour Auto, an event they are well familiar with. They're all car buffs and bench race with anyone. They don't mind pushing their limits despite participating in the regularity competition. Let's let them tell us more about their cars. This car has a great history. It's Monsieur Rostand's car. He's the happy owner of a car with an outstanding record. It's very precise, a bit like his cuisine.
C'est un petit peu chirurgical, c'est très précis, c'est comme en cuisine. Comme en cuisine.
This one is a racing version with a large headlight. It's a 4-cylinder 1.6 litre.
How does it feel trying to steal the cross?
It's a 1971 1600cc BMW. It's a very reliable car, very nicely balanced. We have a lot of fun with it because we're comfortable inside and we play around like kids. That's what we're looking for. And this year's Tour Auto just happened to pass through one of France's most famous gastronomic regions, Bresse. And our chefs set off for a few laps on the circuit that shares the same name. They respect the rules, we just go for it. Yeah, they're not very fast. We're ahead of them. It's wonderful and a bit of a surprise. They're very good, but they're like an appetizer. We're going to come up with a 5-course meal. And here at the Bresse circuit, it was Michel Rostand and Michel Chabron taking an easy win in this contest between world-class chefs, not in the kitchen, but on the circuit. They finished this run in 49th place overall. Jean-Paul Lacombe and Jacques Lamelloise ended the day in 79th position. You'd be hard-pressed to find a finer example of the Tour Auto's appreciation of the good life, both behind the wheel and at the table. As for the midday meal, once consumed, and it was fowl-based of course, prepared by another great French chef, Georges Blanc, it's time to get back on the road. The Tour Auto approaches the Alps with 2 road stages scheduled. First, the Col de Porte, followed by Revard. We're now at high altitudes and the V8s and 6 cylinders can be heard in the forests. There's no lack of snow along the side of the road. In VHC, the race remains an Anglo-American affair, with the tiny and nimble Lotus of Damien Kohler and Jean-Pierre Lajeunade mixing it up with a nest of Cobras and a GT40. And then Lac Bourget appears. Aix-les-Bains isn't far away. The following morning brings another frisky and wet start to the day. Now that the Tour Auto has reached eastern France, it's time to turn west and head to the heart of the country, direction Auvergne, and for those without a roof, it's best to take a philosophical mindset. It's the same story when one is in a muscle car. I'm going to be careful today. And while the participants cross the lovely countryside alone, they're always given a warm welcome in the villages, such as here in charming La Côte Saint-André. The welcome is fantastic, the atmosphere is wonderful, it proves just how nice and appreciated this event is. Denis Giraudet is a household name in the French and international rally community. These days, he's Evgeny Novikov's co-driver in the WRC. On the Tour Auto, Denis is sharing the diminutive cockpit of a Porsche 906 with friend Jean-Claude Pichon, and even when he's on holiday, he's working. Yeah, I'm working, and I can tell you it's a little more stressful than the WRC because everything's new to me. I did the Monte Carlo Historic with Bruno Sabi, but this is much different. We're not allowed to use instruments that are available to us these days. So, you have to do some calculating, and I'm not very good at that. But it's a new and interesting experience. This is a new challenge for Denis, and we would like a first-timer to explain the regularity competition to us. On the Tour Auto, there are two types of regularity events. On the open road, similar to rallying. On the road, you have to set off respecting a given speed, while not knowing the distance to be covered or the profile of the stage. You have to maintain said speed from the start to the finish. For example, you have to start and average 58 kilometers per hour like yesterday and hope to come home as close as possible. It's not always that easy. I use calculation tables that give me the ideal time every 100 meters compared to the target average speed. You have to do this with a mechanical stopwatch because digital devices are not allowed. It's a totally different system than what I am used to, but it makes the brain work, and at my age, that's a good thing.
Ça fait travailler un peu plus le cerveau et à notre âge, c'est pas mal.
At the circuits, we do 3 or 4 laps of practice. We are given a target lap time, and the idea is to set the same lap time over 3 laps. If you're a second too fast or too slow, you're penalised a point.
Et chaque fois que tu es une seconde en avance ou en retard, tu prends un point de pénalité. C'est comme ça que ça se joue.
When put that way, it's easy to understand. It's not as simple as it looks, and this also happens to be the hardest category in the Tour Auto. But Denis is a top pro and has sorted it all out, and he fulfills his role. What I can say is we set off to put in a good result. We're not just here for giggles. We finished 5th, and I would say it was generally positive, as Georges Marchais once said.
Le bilan est globalement positif, comme dirait Georges Marchais.
And your favourite moment? Well, it had to be setting the best time at the Alès circuit.
On a fait le meilleur temps sur le circuit de Alès, donc voilà, c'est un bon souvenir.
Without 2011 Tour Auto regularity champion England's John Ruston, the competition is wide open. It was a close battle with nearly nothing in between the 4 favourites just to the finish line in Nice. Luxembourg's Jean-Paul Bertrand and France's Joseph Lambert in their Ford Escort Mark I won the first special of the rally, ending the day in the lead, 2 seconds ahead of Jean-François Nicoul in a Ford Mustang. Regularity competition is about experience, and the duo of Nicoul-Gauthier is formidable. They wasted no time in taking control, but they didn't run away and hide either. It was a slim lead, and Jean-François wasn't yet celebrating 2 days before the finish. 8 seconds is nothing, and behind are some strong challengers such as Jean-Paul Bertrand and Christian Fleury in a Ferrari 275 GTB. Neither the number 55 Mustang nor its crew cracked. They even managed to add to their lead between Nîmes and Nice, nearly doubling their advantage. Let's hear from the winner, Jean-François Nicoul. We did a good job to control matters, and we were able to win this morning's special stage. We did well on the circuit. We finished with a 17-second lead after it being just 8 this morning. With 148 participants, the regularity class was the finest field of this year's Tour Auto. Day 3 begins with road stage 6. Once again, the tarmac is wet and narrow, but there's plenty of speed for the spectators to enjoy from stage start to end, proving there's still a place for this form of motorsport that these days happens but just once a year. Alain Serpaggi reminds us he hasn't lost any pace over the years, and 2011 Tour Auto champion Ludovic Caron is desperate to make up lost time. For François Demachy, fragrances and perfumes are a job. Along with wife Alexandrine, François has certainly had a whiff of vintage engines and fine leather. But other aromas have caught the attention of his educated nose.
Will this trip inspire ideas for a new perfume?
It won't be as much about voyaging through history, but more about the places we go. There are some fabulous odours. When we passed through small villages, it smelled of livestock. On the way down to here, it was wood. But even better than wood, it was green bark.
Toute la descente que l'on a faite sur la route, ça sentait le bois, même mieux que le bois, ça sentait l'écorce verte.
I'm a bit like a sponge. I try to take in the aromas and then one day make something of it.
De prendre les odeurs et puis un jour ça ressort, voilà.
We've come here to the Château de Martinange and I found its owner. Can you tell us a bit more?
It's an army depot dating back to the 11th century. It's been in my family since the 17th century.
And what are the specificities of the chateau?
Oh, it's a romantic chateau surrounded by water. You can go for a walk in the woods in the Livradois-Forez Park. It's quite a unique place.
Donc un site hors du commun.
Like the participants, they too are Tour Auto faithfuls. They number 16 in all, accompanied by 2 mechanics. But what is their mission? Basically, we escort and look after the safety of the Tour Auto, and more specifically, the respecting of French traffic laws along the liaison sections. We also help when passing through large towns because of the unique state of the competing cars.
Par rapport aux mécaniques un peu sensibles des concurrents.
Continue straight, you'll avoid the city centre and will still be on the road book.
Vous êtes encore sur cette route-là.
D'accord.
We overheated a little, we didn't want to get stuck in the village and avoid blowing a head gasket. Go that way, keep going straight, you should still be on the D73.
Sur la D73.
Ok.
Ok.
There are 2 Republican guards for each group. Then there are 2 that precede the officials that open the road. They also make sure everything is in order when the rally passes through the towns.
Les ouvreurs, les 00, et aussi pour faire les reconnaissances dans les villes, dans les grosses agglomérations qui éventuellement nécessiteraient justement de mettre en place un dispositif d'accompagnement.
But beware, the Republican Guard also knows how to fulfill its role as a gendarme.
Les concurrents sont soumis aux...
The participants must adhere to France's traffic laws. They're here to make sure everybody does. They coordinate with the rally marshals and they give them the numbers of the competitors who commit infractions. And the penalties are of a sporting nature.
Qui ont contrevenu à ces règles-là. Et ils sont ensuite sanctionnés au niveau sportif.
Cyril, we've come to speak to your crew, but you don't have one. Where are your mechanics?
They've just dropped us off. They worked very late last night to put everything right. They did some welding, they changed parts, and they repaired some others.
Quand je dis régler, c'est souder, réparer, changer, ça englobe tout.
So you're just making sure everything's okay?
Yeah, tyre pressure and the water and oil levels. A little bit of oil and it becomes very slippery with my dancing shoes.
Avec mes chaussures de ballerine là.
It's not a hybrid. We ran out of petrol because the gauge doesn't work. The Charade circuit near Clermont-Ferrand is a French motor racing landmark. Maybe you're not aware of it, but there's now a Save the Charade Circuit committee, and it would be heartbreaking if this circuit were to disappear. We'll let you enjoy the charms of this undulating track, mixing the old and new layout, with a ride in François-Xavier Entremont's Ferrari 308 Group N. For 2012, Sean Lynn swapped his GT40 for a Cobra, and here he showed why he's a strong favourite for the win this year. Like the GTO, the AC Cobra is celebrating its Golden Jubilee, and a win would be extra sweet icing on the cake for the Englishman. Ludovic Caron is also ambitious, but when he tapped the rear end of Richard Mainz's GT40, he lost any hope of a repeat triumph. And it was another incident-free day for the GTO and its charming crew, and that can't be said for everybody. And what better way for the Tour Auto participants to continue their voyage than to head south? And with the splendid countryside from Clermont-Ferrand to Nîmes, how could they not enjoy their drive? Especially when passing near Puy-en-Velay and Montgerbier-des-Joncs. This extraordinary scenery where Jean Ranotti does what he does best turned into a proper nightmare for more than a few. Stage 8 of the Tour Auto, Augerolles wasn't very kind to the drivers. A nasty corner that once negotiated leads some to laugh, while solidarity takes centre stage. Then there are a few minutes to relax and have coffee and brioche at the staging area prior to the Lausanne stage, and have a listen to one car that's not quite on song. If you add a bit of oil, it turns to vinegar. Rain, hail even, and cold ground temperatures. Some will be in for a rude welcome. One Tour Auto competitor is loving it all though, and a few have thanked organiser Patrick Peter. That was how much they enjoyed themselves. The next stop for the Tour Auto came near the source of the Loire River, the Ferme de Bourlatier, for a spot of lunch before the long drive to the Alès circuit before arriving in Nîmes. And if their hearty lunch wasn't enough, there were some very kind folks there who offered up gorgeous strawberry tartlets that believe us when we say they were worth the drive. In the competition category, different aged and different engine capacity cars square off, with big V8s on one side and small four-cylinders on the other. There's one competition that brings them together, the Index of Performance. In the Index of Performance, there's one all the others have to beat, Yves Jun, who tells us how it all works. It's a system that evens up the playing field in erasing the disadvantage that some cars have due to their age, their small engine capacity and the category they are in.
Qui est appliqué au temps brut. On obtient un temps net et c'est ce temps net qui fait l'objet du classement indice de performance.
Yves Jun's 1953 Porsche 356 has a very favourable coefficient, and Yves is also eyeing a top spot in the overall standings. I must say that this year, sadly, there are fewer competing in the index than in years past, but I'm still here, and what I'm really about is being in a good spot in the overall standings. This morning we were 22nd, that's what I'm now most interested in. The unbeatable Porsche 356 Yves Jun Association won again this year, and as the man himself said, see you next year again. and with pleasure.
Et bien à l'année prochaine, avec plaisir. Merci beaucoup.
This is a racetrack, but for the competitors it was run as if it was a road stage, with both driver and co-driver. Welcome to the Pole Mécanique d'Alès. Wouldn't you know it, the sun made a welcome return for the last stage of the day before the overnight stay just outside the world-famous arenas in Nîmes. There's still plenty to fight for in each category, but one shouldn't be too quick to take the bull by the horns. All good things must come to an end, even the Tour Auto. The engine is up front, but this morning the power's coming from the rear. More than ever, there's a whiff of nostalgia and good humour in the air. We're having a great time, like every year. This is a fine field, the ambiance is great, and for me the Tour Auto is perfect. We're happy because we've got this far, but sad because it's nearly over. It's gone by so quickly, we'll have to wait a year. But it's not completely over, we have to make it to the end. There are 2 more runs and we have to keep a cool head. The finish line is in Nice, one of the more emblematic cities of the Tour Auto. The Provence landscape speaks for itself. The aroma of pine replaces wet tree bark. But there's still some racing to be done, with the final road stage, Colias.
I don't know what you think, but I think there's a lack of ladies. But here I've found an all-woman team, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Young ladies.
Mesdemoiselles, vous êtes sympas.
Young ladies, aren't you kind? Aurore Monod, this is our second Tour Auto. Patricia and I drive together, and we always have a wonderful time. For sure there are not that many women, but there are a few more this year.
Shake your booty, baby. One more time. Shake your booty, baby. One more time.
We're obviously thrilled to see other female teams competing with some very beautiful cars, and they're all very fair play. Could you tell us about your car? It's a Mercedes 190 SL. It was built in 1963, and it's the same model of car that Grace Kelly drove. You're one of the rare all-female duos. Have you always been passionate about motor racing? No, not at all. The Tour Auto has been for the men, and in my case, it's the man that I love that introduced me to his passion for the event and the Renault Alpine. And it is easy to become passionate about this sport because the Alpine is a magnificent car. It is particular, very capricious, and has a very feminine side. So it's the ideal car for us.
On est surtout là pour le plaisir.
More than anything else, we're here to have fun. This is the first time for us. We have a superb car, but to win, we will try. So why not? But it's important that we enjoy it ourselves.
Ouais, ça c'est important. Ouais.
It seems regularity was made for women. You have to be calm and very intelligent. It is what suits us best because we don't like to drive too fast, but it still requires quite a bit of dynamism.
Isabelle Marquis and Hélène Charrier finished fifth among the ladies. The Mercedes duo of Patricia Paulette and Aurore Monod took fourth. Third place in the female order went to the Citroën DS pair of Carole Lemaire-Sicre and Ulrich Wollmann. Finishing runner-up in the category were Maul Poncini and Viviane Zaniroli in their Fiat, and the all-female class went to the charming ladies from Serbia, Zonica and Maya in a Porsche 911, and they also finished in the regularity overall top 10. And of course we can't forget Daniela Müller and Jacqueline Rover and their 250 GTO. It's one of the most modern circuits in the world, but it's also a perfect venue to continue this motoring celebration. The 5 groups, still nearly complete, wind their way around this colourful track, and all want to make the most of the chance, because the Nice finishing line is a scant 175 kilometres away. The Promenade des Anglais, almost symbolic because the British duo of Sean Lynn and Kevin Kivlotchan are the VHC and overall victors.
We pushed really hard, and once we got a bit of a gap on everybody, we then decided to really try and look after the car and try and monitor the space. But we've got some great competitors, and they really pushed their cars hard. And as we saw on some of the stages, there's a lot of accidents and a lot of people giving 10/10ths.
Sean Lynn gave the AC Cobra a lovely 50th birthday present, while another driver, Alain Serpaggi, finally beat close rival and friend Jean Ranotti in the GHI category. A terrific week, but it's taken us 6 years to do this due to small problems. But this year we did it.
Mais cette année, ça y est.
It's the 50th anniversary of the Berlinette this year. 2 Berlinettes on the podium is magnificent.
C'est magnifique.
Mr. John of B in the 906 finished third overall.
Semaine fabuleuse.
A fabulous week. We managed to go all the way in this small car. We finished third overall and first in Group G. The car's magnificent, a small but fast 2-litre engine. We're so pleased to finish behind Serpaggi and Ranotti. We can't do better than this. We began the Tour Auto with them, so it's logical that we finish in their company. The Ferrari 250 GTO of Daniela Müller completed the Tour Auto 48 years after its victory, and Daniela can finally smile. Another person smiling, Patrick Petter, who did another first-class job in organising the Tour Auto. The weather forecasts were not always very good, but we managed to pass between the raindrops. The roads were very beautiful, the stages were outstanding, and there were very few problems. So, I am immensely satisfied. The Tour Auto is one of the very best ways to visit France, and we'll leave you with these images. And until we meet again next year, for another edition of the Tour Auto Optic 2000.